I'm Janice Edwards. Coming up on Bay Area Vista, actors Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez, who are father and son, examine the meaning of life in the inspirational film The Way. Then local filmmaker Kedar Corday made the indie hit X's and O's as a love letter to his wife. Hear the fascinating story, see the Bay Area landmarks, and find out why this director is glad that people pirated his movie. That's coming up next as we look at life and art. Join us for Bay Area Vista.
Conklin Brothers of San Mateo has provided in-studio flooring for Bay Area Vista. Conklin Brothers' motto is, "You can count on us."
Janice, Edwards, it's showtime. It's time to Janice, Edwards, it's showtime. It's time to Janice, Edwards, it's showtime. It's showtime. Your time to shine.
Welcome to Bay Area Vista. I'm Janice Edwards. In the film The Way, award-winning actors Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez play father and son whose lives are forever changed by a journey along what is called the Way of Santiago in Europe. Each year, people from all over the world take this pilgrimage that really forces a reflection of life. It's a moving and a beautiful film that Emilio Estevez wrote and directed.
You know, most people don't have the luxury of just picking up and leaving it all behind, Daniel.
We agreed that if I let you take me to the airport, you wouldn't lecture me about how I'm ruining my life.
I lied. Hello.
Are you the father of Daniel Avery?
Now, as many of you know, Emilio uses the Spanish version of the family name, while his brother Charlie uses Sheen, like their dad. During a recent visit to the Bay Area, Martin and Emilio talked with me about family, faith, and the story behind the making of the movie, The Way. The film The Way chronicles a very poignant spiritual journey of a father honoring the memory of his son by walking El Camino de Santiago, the Way of St. James. Real-life father and son Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez play father and son in the movie, and Emilio also directed and wrote it. It's such an honor to meet you both. Welcome back to the Bay Area. I know you've been here many times
Thank you
before.
very much. We're delighted to be here.
Oh, and thank you for this film. It's incredible. And I know for both of you it was very personal to you. Dedicated it to your grandfather, your father.
Yeah.
And you had taken this part of this journey between a hiatus with the West Wing many years ago. So tell me how this all came
It was
about.
in the summer of 2003. We had organized a family reunion in Ireland on my mother's 100th birthday. She died in 1951 at 48, but on May 22nd, 2003, she would have been 100. So I invited all the living siblings to come to Ireland. Let's celebrate in her village. And we did. We had a great mass there in a church that her grandfather helped build. And we had a 3-day celebration. We went up to Dublin, and I was secretly hoping to take everybody to Spain and walk the Camino. I mean, it was a fantasy. You know, I had no preparation and not nearly enough time. No backpack, nothing.
Which you definitely need on El
must
Camino.
have the backpack.
So Taylor and Matt Clark, who played the priest in the film, said they'd go with me, and we would fantasize. We wanted to do it on bicycles, and that wouldn't work. He said, well, horseback, that wouldn't work. But we decided we'll rent a car and we'll drive it for future reference, and we did. So these two old guys and this young kid, Taylor was 19 at the time. He was my assistant. And we stopped at this refugio in Burgos, one of the main cities on the Camino, and he looked into the eyes of the innkeeper's daughter, I swear to God, and they fell madly in love. They married. They're still there. He lives in Burgos. So the first miracle was he loses a son on the Camino.
Wow.
Which is ultimately the hook of the film.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Because he came back and says, well, let's start a dialogue about making a film in Spain on the Camino. I said, well, I don't really know. How do we get in? What's the hook? And then it became very clear that, wow, I've lost my son. Obviously not in a tragic way, but I've lost access, and he's there, and I'm, it's going to be long stretches of time before I see him, unless I go there. Anyway, so I began to, I pitched him the idea, and I said, I think it's about a father-son, ultimately. He says, that's it, go.
Wow. And for people who don't know, this pilgrimage is something that many people do every year. It's estimated that in 2010, 200,000 people did it for a variety of reasons. And so you put together a cast of characters, as you will, the the doctor who has had some estrangement with his son, misunderstanding about what the purpose is of life. And he starts this to honor him and is distributing his ashes. And he meets these people along the way. So as you two were working together on this, what did you learn in this journey? I'll start with you, Emilio.
Well, that we don't, and we talk about this a lot, is you don't walk alone. You do walk the path alone, but you have to walk with others. You have to walk in community. The movie celebrates some of the things that I think are sorely lacking in our culture now: faith, family, community. We are so disconnected, and maybe more disconnected than ever before, which is ironic because we have all of these devices that are supposed to keep us more connected, but they're sort of they're virtual. They're not real. And this movie celebrates, I think, the connection and the touch and the breaking bread with strangers and taking the time to have a meal, right?
Yes.
So for me, I think the film speaks to that which is missing and that which still is within our grasp.
Yes.
You know, many people on pilgrimage who are starting out with one reason and end up with quite a different one before the journey is finished. They discover themselves with the inner pilgrimage, the transcendent pilgrimage inside, where you're listening to your own beat, you know, with your feet and your own heart, and then your spirit begins to speak to you and take you to a different place because you're listening for the first time without any noise or any distractions. And yet, as Emilio said, you have to walk this journey. All of us do alone.
Right.
But we cannot do it without community. You can't feed yourself. You can't clothe yourself. You need the help of everyone. And then you begin to realize that we're all pilgrims. We're all broken. We're all in this together. And this is what being a human being is about.
Yes. And without that reflection of others back to you, it's hard to sometimes get a beat on it. Your character experiences a renewed faith, and I know faith has been so important in your life. How has it helped you deal with the challenges of celebrity and dealing with all that your family has to do with being so public?
Well, it's like every family deals with the same problems that we deal with. That's not. We're
not unique.
We're not unique. I
Right.
promise you, we're not.
Right.
For my own part, I do have a great faith that everything is grace. Everything, even when the darkest hour comes, you know that you have to embrace it and get through it. Don't curse it and run away because you're going to find it behind you. Don't try and sidestep it because it'll be to your left and your right. The more we accept the cup as offered rather than altered, the more we become ourselves, the more we earn our freedom and our own identity. We identify ourselves. And so I'm a person of faith out of necessity. I trust that the next step is going to land on solid ground. Sometimes it doesn't. That's what pilgrimage is. That's what life is,
Yes.
But our efforts, all of our efforts in life is a pilgrimage, and it's an effort to unite the will of the Spirit to the work of the flesh. That's how we get through it, I think, and we do it together.
Yes, and the movie just illustrates that so poignantly. Thank you both so much. Thank you for this beautiful work. Thank you for all of the work that you've continued to give us throughout the years. It's been a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
He was walking the road to Santiago de Compostela, 800 kilometers on the northwestern coast of Spain. This is everything he had when we found him. People have walked the path for over 1,000 years. The way is a very personal journey, Mr. Avery.
Daniel was my only child. We're going to walk the Camino to Santiago, both of us.
Tom! This is the way.
Hi, I'm Joost. There's no mystery why I'm doing this trick. Oh, look at cheesemakers. Hola! Hey, Tom, wait! Yeah, you should try some.
No, thanks.
Tom! Tom, it's me! Right, I'm from Amsterdam.
That's huh?
What are you looking to score?
I love this guy.
It wears off quick, I promise.
Hello, I'm Jack from Ireland.
How long have you been out here?
On the Camino or on this particular spot?
You pick.
Well, geez, it's hard to say.
It's me off a lot. Looks a lot like you.
Hey, that kid took my bag. Hey! Hey! You can keep the pack! Just give me the box!
So what is it, on pilgrimage to change your life?
Something like that.
Dead box with the ashes.
My son. That's brilliant. I mean, tragic, of course, but brilliant. Oh, no!
Tom, your son. I'm so sorry. I had no idea.
My son was almost 40.
Yeah, but he'll always be your baby.
Now, ending in a letter, an email, a text, or a Facebook post with XOXO means hugs and kisses. So, X's and O's is a fitting title for a local filmmaker's movie about his Bay Area friends' adventures in love. You'll notice that this clip features Oakland's Lake Merritt. Take a look.
Hi, Lorenzo. Is Simon here?
No.
Do you know where he
No.
is? Okay. Are you doing anything?
Let's take a walk outside, just you and me, for an on-foot ride. Follow me, I'll lead the way.
So as a woman,
We can talk all night.
did you ever want to be with a guy who was aimless?
If you're cold,
Well, I'm sure women would want to be with someone that has some idea of what he wants to do with his life.
Yeah.
if you're sad,
I guess there's a reason why drifters are loners, right?
Are you talking about anyone specific?
I don't know what I want to do with my life.
I don't think you have to worry about that. You're pretty. Look, you're young, and there are a lot of adults who don't know where they're headed. See, that's why they always ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's because they're looking for ideas. All right, it's my turn. I can tell that Simon really cares about what you think. So, what do you think about me?
I can see you growing on me.
Whoopee.
you're the ground I'm planted on. Without you, I'd be long gone. You're always
Thanks for the company. It was fun.
Yeah, sure.
Simon, are you there? Hey.
Hey.
Did you kids have a good time?
Yeah, it was great.
what my heart wants to.
Kedar Corday is a former microbiologist turned writer and director who says that this film is a love letter to his wife. So Kedar, thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Janice.
The film is great, and I love the backstory. So let's start with you're a freshman at UC Davis.
Right.
You meet someone, you become friends. How did that lead to what? And at the time, you were studying microbiology.
Right.
So what happened?
So yeah, I was going down the normal pre-med path, and a girl named Jessica was living a couple of dorm rooms away from me. Really dug her. She didn't feel the same way about me. We were really good friends for a really long time, and she graduated and went on to medical school, and I wound up working at Stanford as part of the Human Genome Project. And it was, it was cool to tell people I was doing that at parties, but it's not really that exciting.
And it wasn't your passion.
No.
You were kind of good at it, but
Right.
you weren't feeling like you were fully alive and engaged in life.
Yeah, it was easy. It was cool telling people that I was, going to cure cancer, but I mean, I wasn't, but it felt good to say that. But with Jessica, like I, never really got anywhere. But I was writing this blog, kind of like a science journal about my friends and their exploits, and I was kind of trying to like figure out an experiment to like get Jessica. We still remain friends, and one day I decided to ask her, hey, what's the deal? And so she told me two things that I didn't ever finish anything I started, and she really was like, I don't even know if you know what it means to actually be passionate or in love with anything. I made it clear that I wasn't happy with this job, and so she said, hey, why don't you try to do something that really means something to you and finish it? And so I said, hey, what if I do this movie thing? That's what I really want to do. And she was like, well, let's talk after you finish it. And a couple years went by. We did the whole thing. There's a long backstory to actually making the movie, but to get to to get to the happy ending, it premiered at the Hollywood Film Festival. I look out at the crowd. Jessica's there, and we've been married 4 years, and we had our first daughter 14 months ago. So yeah, so
You couldn't have written a better love story
no,
than that.
I
That's
couldn't.
amazing.
I couldn't.
So, and I'm just curious, during those years when you were writing the film, you just hoped, I mean, I'm sure you probably talked, she was seeing other people, you
Yeah.
were seeing other people,
Mhm.
but in your heart,
I
you
wasn't
just,
seeing anybody.
oh really? You just, from the moment you met
right,
Jessica, you
that
just
was
knew
it.
she was
Right.
the one.
Right. But yeah, she was going on with her life, and I think she was, if she to put somebody on the back burner to say, why don't you make a movie and come back? Like, that's a good back burner to put somebody on, because the odds are really, really tough. But yeah, she really opened me up to seeing that, that I was really good at something, and I wasn't just kind of good at something, and I thought I was a lot better at it because I felt that I was doing something I really liked, and then most importantly, like, I actually finished something. I mean, it was definitely something that was sort of like lacking quality-wise in my life. Like, if it got hard, I'd always quit. So so to see it through was it was like twofold. I mean, I actually saw the relationship with Jessica through. I could have given up on that, and then to have the movie released and actually finished, which is another thing I'm proud of. So yeah,
That's great. So family life is good?
Yeah, family life's good. It's a lot easier to be married when two people are doing what they want. So if she comes home from a tough day, there's really not much I can say on my end, because I think I don't really have much tough days, because I'm happily married, and I'm doing something that I think a lot of people would want to do. And so yeah, pretty fortunate in that regard.
That's very cool. And the research that you were doing on this blog was about your friends' relationships,
Right.
and that's really what the movie shows too. So we're going to take a look at a clip now, which sort of sets up some of the premise of the movie. Okay. All right. Let's take a look.
So Annette said she saw Max eating sushi with one of his groupies last night.
A fireman have groupies.
Yeah, they're called fire hose. And I know this new one is just trying to backdraft off my relationship problems with Max to hook up with him.
You and Max broke up over a year ago.
I ended it. It was my decision. It's just been so hard trying to meet new guys in the city. I mean, the selection is so stale. In between all the suits, skaters, and indie boys, there's just really not that much for a girl to get worked up about.
Maybe you should lower your standards.
Simon, he got that scientist intellectual shine to him, right? I mean, his cerebellum be swelling and all, but he need to do some research on his own self. That girl got his brain discombobulated, blood.
So, are you seeing anyone?
No, not right now.
Well, why not?
How's a boy supposed to get shot down if she sits there idolizing?
Man, why you want your boy to crash and burn?
Make a move on, that's all I'm saying. Trust me. I got Simon's back.
Like a chiropractor. Yeah, but how do you know Jane is gonna shut him down?
I just know.
Call me.
Parked in your car, you say.
Man, this is how players smoke, all right? It's hard to put him on the line for a woman. I did. Y'all know what happened to me.
Here we go again. Man, look how great you're doing now. You DJing again? What, you even rushed that frat?
Yeah, dog. Look. Pop cup. Hey, yo, I fold. Ain't no flop yet, man. I got pocket rockets.
Lots of great characters in that. So are your friends saying, yes, that's me, or did you have to make that disclaimer that they're composites of different people that you know?
It's interesting. Like, I don't think my friends want to admit that those are their, so they've pointed to other people being those characters, but the ones that they represent probably know who it's about. But it's not true. I mean, they're exaggerated. They're a lot cooler than most of my friends. But I think they should be happy with the way with the way they were portrayed.
All right. And speaking of being happy with this, so you write the story, and then you start seeking Hollywood actors. You have some very impressive people in this. We saw a couple of clips out. Obviously, Judy Marte from Raising
Right.
Victor Vargas. Simon's character had been on 24, I believe,
Yeah.
before. And so, but how did you go for? I mean, you're a microbiologist. You've written this. How did you make those connections and get those people on board?
That's a really good question. There was definitely some luck involved. I didn't really. I mean, the one thing about being so far removed from filmmaking in terms of like my career was I didn't know much. So I just figured I'd just go after and try to meet as many people who had done this. And so I met a casting director who had done this for like 18 years, and I pretty much told him, look, like you got to help me. And so his idea was, look, you're not at a really low budget. You're not going to get your names, but you can get some people who may become names later, and which is really crazy for an ensemble cast that we had. We had like 28 speaking parts, but we had almost every character, almost every actor who came in was either one of their first or second, or maybe even their third films. Like a third film person was like a veteran on this. So a lot of people had their first credits on this movie. Sarah Wright, who plays Jane, she had a couple of television shows, like a couple of performances on a television show, and she immediately after this movie winds up getting a big role on The House Bunny.
Yeah.
And then she's on a huge project by the directors and writers of The Hangover. So they've really blown up, and it really wasn't because I knew that. They were just the best actors who came in, and they really were hungry, and I really was lucky. I mean, really was lucky to have people actually like understand the script, understand the characters, and see that there was more to these characters than your normal typical romantic comedy.
Yes.
So I think they had a lot to play with, and we attracted some people I probably wouldn't be able to get now at the same budget. So I'm really happy for those guys.
And it's a huge life lesson about following your passion. Then the other part that happened is then you get the movie done,
Right.
it's released, and then all of a sudden people start pirating it.
Right.
Now, normally people are upset about that, but this really worked out to create this internet sensation for you.
Yeah, actually, it got released. It was picked up, but the company that picked it up wound up going under. So I had to fight to get my movie back, and when I finally did, it was kind of blacklisted. Once it gets picked up and then sort of dropped for whatever reason, nobody else wants to touch it. So I had this movie that I knew was really good, and I was like, I have no idea what to do with this. I just had a movie, and all of a sudden I started getting a bunch of emails in Russian, and I thought it was spam. And but they kept coming, and I was like, wait, I don't know what this is. So I took a message and put it into Babelfish and translated it, and they were talking about X's and O's, and my editor and my producing partner Molly, we saw that our IMDb ranking, which is like the internet,
Right.
which is the Internet Movie Database ranking, had like shot up like 3,000 points, so or 3,000%, and we said, what are we going to do with this? And I was like, wow, my movie's actually being seen. I mean, this is it's been sitting in my closet.
Right.
And so we contacted the New York Times because they have a specific technology segment to their filmmaking about piracy and digital technologies. And we just called them up, literally called them up and said, here's a filmmaker who's totally cool with it being pirated. And I actually was, because there was no way this movie was going to get seen. And so it was not only getting seen in Russia, somebody had put it up on BitTorrent, so it was getting streamed wherever. And so but what was really cool was that New York Times article actually got me my first digital distribution deal.
Wow.
So so it's not a bad thing if especially if you have nothing to lose, and we're artists at the end of the day.
Yes.
And so whether it be in Russian, and the thing about Russia was like it really was marketed wrong. Like it was supposed to be kind of like a sexy romp, and we have a lot of beautiful women, but there's no actual.
Right.
So a lot of people were disappointed. So that was a lot of the emails, but
they wanted sex scenes.
Right. But you know what? They watched it. People who watched it expecting that realized there was more to the movie, and I think they actually kind of identified with those characters. So. Yeah, and we've actually got some really amazing deals with the major distributors because of that one New York Times article.
Yes, and now you're involved with a whole community of filmmakers. Before you were coming to them to get lessons, and
Right.
now people are coming to you to say, Kedar, how do we do it? And you're working on another film. What's the upcoming one about?
This is a totally this was an edgy rom-com. This one's going to be a female version of Clockwork Orange.
Ooh.
So right now I'm producing it. We have an amazing director who's my producing partner right now, who probably would be a better choice for directing it. But I think we could, and she's been with me every step of the way in terms of the distribution. So I think she's definitely learned the process of filmmaking firsthand. And so we'll be collaborating on that, and we're going to shoot that in New Jersey next winter. So,
leaving the Bay Area, not totally leaving, just to shoot,
no,
right? You're
yeah,
not
just to
gonna
shoot.
abandon the Bay Area as
I'm
well,
actually but I'm actually looking for actors here. I think I want to do the same thing again. I want to find complete, fresh, new blood, and see if those guys wind up doing some big things later on. Usually it takes a few years to get a movie made. So in that time, if one of those actors winds up doing something pretty big, it could be a perfect opportunity. And I like working with new actors. I mean, it was fun working with people who really had no expectations. I mean, they weren't jaded. They were willing to like put up with some of the mistakes that I was making, just because I was learning. Right. But they felt that they were also learning. So there was no sort of like me having to show that I was somebody else, that I was some big hotshot or whatever. So I would love to do that similarly again.
Well, it's great that it's working out, and it's really exciting. It's inspirational in so many ways. You'll have to come back and give us a one on fundraising, because that's the other part of that. But you managed to get that portion together too, getting people involved with your vision. So Kedar, it's really a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
I'm
you so much.
excited about what you're doing. It's a fun film, and the backstory is great.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Best wishes to the family too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's a
thanks
pleasure,
for being
Janice.
here.
I really appreciate being here.
Glad to have you. Now, if you'd like more information about X's and O's, here's where to find it. At least this is where you can find it, the website. And if they want to purchase it or whatever, that information is there as well.
Yes. Everything's there.
Okay, that's great. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed our show, and that's our show for today. I'm Janice Edwards. Thank you for joining us. For details about anything that you saw, please go to BayAreaVista.com. We look forward to seeing you next time, and remember, art and life do meet in amazing ways. Keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Conklin Brothers of San Mateo has provided in-studio flooring for Bay Area Vista. Conklin Brothers' motto is, "You can count on us."